Spotify is how the planet listens to music. Every month, 675 million people open it. More than 260 million of them pay for it. By almost any measure you choose, it is the most successful music company in history. Bigger than any record label, bigger than any radio network that came before it. And yet here is the strange thing. For almost its entire existence, Spotify lost money. Not a little. Billions of dollars, year after year, even as it took over the world. There is one number that explains that paradox, and it is the same number that explains how Spotify actually makes money today. The number is 70%. For every single dollar that lands in Spotify's account, about 70 cents turns around and walks straight back out the door. It was never Spotify's money. So the real question isn't how Spotify makes money. It's how anyone builds an empire on the 30 cents they're allowed to keep. Let's start with where the money even comes from, because it is not where most people assume. Spotify has two kinds of listeners. There are the free users, who hear ads between songs, and there are the paying users who don't. Now, there are far more free listeners than paying subscribers, hundreds of millions more. So you'd think the free tier, with all those people and all those ads, is the engine. It isn't. In a recent year, the paying subscribers generated roughly 88% of Spotify's revenue. The ads, the entire free experience that hundreds of millions of people rely on, brought in barely 12%. Sit with that. The product most people use is responsible for almost none of the money. So what is the free tier actually for? It's bait. It is the most expensive marketing funnel in the history of audio. Spotify gives away music at a loss, gets you comfortable, lets you build your playlists and your habits and your liked songs, and then gently, constantly, nudges you toward $11 a month, where the real money lives. Spotify is not an advertising company that happens to sell subscriptions. It is a subscription company that tolerates advertising as a way to recruit its next subscribers. Now follow one of those subscription dollars, because this is where the 70% bites down. When you pay $11 a month, Spotify does not keep $11. It doesn't keep anything close. The music you are listening to belongs to somebody else, to record labels, to music publishers, to the artists and songwriters standing behind them. And 3 giant labels control most of the recorded music on Earth. Without their catalogs, Spotify is a beautiful app with nothing to play. That gives the labels enormous leverage, and they use it. They take their cut right off the top, before Spotify keeps a cent, and the cut is enormous. Somewhere around 70% of all revenue flows straight back out to rights holders. That is not generosity. That is simply the price of having any music to play at all. And once you understand that one fact, everything else about this company suddenly makes perfect sense. So picture the box Spotify was trapped in. 70 cents of every dollar, gone before you even start. That single fact set the ceiling on everything. It's why Spotify's gross margin, the money left after paying for the core product, sat for years stuck in the mid-20%. Put that in perspective. A typical software company keeps 70 or 80 cents on the dollar. Spotify kept around 25. It is incredibly hard to build a profitable giant when 3/4 of your revenue is spoken for before you pay a single engineer, run a single ad, or sign a single podcast. And so for 15 years, Spotify held a remarkable title, the largest music company in the world that could not turn a profit. It grew and grew and bled the entire way. So if you are Spotify and the 70% is fixed, how do you ever escape? Logically, you have exactly 2 options. Option 1, squeeze more money out of each user you already have. Option 2, find brand new things to sell, things where the labels don't get to take 70% off the top. Over the last few years, quietly and then aggressively, Spotify has done both. And this is the part almost nobody notices, because the Spotify you are using right now is running a completely different playbook than the one that lost all that money. Start with the first lever. Just charge more. For over a decade, Spotify was almost superstitious about its price. The standard plan sat at $9.99 year after year, while everything else in your life quietly got more expensive. Your coffee, your rent, your streaming video. Spotify froze. Then in 2023, it finally blinked. $9.99 became $10.99. Then it became $11.99. $1 at a time. It sounds almost too small to matter. It is not small. When you have 250 million paying subscribers, one extra dollar a month is billions of dollars a year, and a meaningful slice of that increase flows straight toward Spotify's own margin. Here's what Spotify discovered when it finally raised prices. Almost nobody left. People do not abandon years of playlists and saved songs over $1. The fear had been bigger than the reality. Now the second lever, and it's a sneaky one. Change what you're selling. This is the real reason Spotify poured hundreds of millions of dollars into podcasts, including a reported $250 million deal for Joe Rogan alone. At the time, everyone said Spotify was wildly overpaying for a few talk shows. But podcasts have one magical property that music does not. The labels don't own them. There is no 70%. When you listen to a podcast and hear an ad, a far larger share of that money simply stays with Spotify. So every single minute Spotify can move your attention away from a song and toward a podcast is a minute that earns the company a dramatically better margin. That's why it built its own advertising technology, bought a podcast ad company, and started selling ads against a huge library of audio that it doesn't owe the music industry a single cent for. The podcasts were never really about podcasts. They were about escaping the 70%. Then came audiobooks, and a move so clever that it made the entire publishing industry furious. Spotify started including audiobook listening hours inside its premium plan, as a free perk. Sounds generous, right? Here's the trick. By bundling music and audiobooks together into one subscription, Spotify could reclassify what that subscription even is. And under the specific rules that govern songwriter royalties in the United States, that reclassification allowed Spotify to pay songwriters a lower rate per stream. Read that again. Spotify dressed up a pay cut as a free feature. You, the listener, got bonus audiobooks. Songwriters got smaller checks, and a lawsuit. Spotify got to keep a few more cents of that 70%. One move, and everybody's incentives are laid bare. There's a third lever, and it's hiding right in your recommendations. It's called discovery mode. An artist or a label can ask Spotify to push their songs harder. More autoplay, more radio, more algorithmic favor in the places you're most likely to just hit play and let it run. And in exchange for that boost, they agree to accept a lower royalty on those particular streams. Think about what that means. The artist is paying for promotion, not with cash, but with their own already thin margin. Spotify doesn't spend $1. It simply takes a discount on what it would have owed. Multiply that across millions of tracks and a growing share of artists opting in, and you get a quiet, expanding stream of profit baked directly into the one thing you assumed was neutral, the algorithm deciding what you hear next. Now stack all of it together. Higher prices, podcast ads the labels can't touch, audiobook bundling that quietly lowers royalties, a pay-to-play algorithm. None of it changed the 70%. The labels still take their cut of the music, same as ever. But around that fixed cost, Spotify got absolutely relentless. And in 2024, for the first time in its entire history, it worked. Spotify reported a full year of genuine profit. Those gross margins that had been stuck in the mid-20s for a decade finally climbed into the low 30s. The company that could not make money for 15 straight years suddenly posted over $1 billion in operating profit. Nothing about the music economics changed. Spotify just got ruthless about everything sitting on top of the music. So here is what Spotify actually is, once you strip away the logos and the playlists. It is not a music company. The labels are the music companies. They own the songs, and they still take their 70%. Spotify is the toll booth. It does not own the road, and it does not own the cars. It owns the on-ramp, the single on-ramp that 1 billion people use to get to the music. And it has spent 15 years learning how to charge for every lane, every shoulder, and every exit. The music is just what gets you to drive onto the road in the first place. The podcast ads, the audiobook reclassification, the pay-to-play recommendations. That is the actual business. So the next time you see an artist point out that Spotify pays almost nothing per stream, you'll understand the real story. It was never that Spotify is greedy about the music. It's that Spotify was never trying to make its money on the music at all. It was busy building everything else. And that is how Spotify finally, after all these years, learned to make money.